This 4-week session, I'll leave about like 10 minutes. And by the way, we might go over time because it's definitely going to be like, a lot of information for some of you to obtain. So I'm willing to go a little bit over time, but that's kind of a go over the agenda. So 4-week training agenda, there's going to be 4 different parts. One is the marketing side. Okay. How do we actually create that sort of a seller lead flow coming to us? That's the number one thing. There's a call outreach that we can do. There's a free way to do it, which is like, sourcing things on Zillow, like MLS. But there's also a pay way to do it if you can allocate a bit of budget into it. So marketing is a big part of this whole operation. Now, number 2 is a CRM and obviously your pipeline. This is really important because if you're unable to trust your follow-up process and have a system in place, then you're kind of guessing when to follow up with people. And the moment that you started having a lot of people that you're talking to, 20, 30, even 50 or 100 people that you're talking to, it's very, very easy that you forget about the conversation or forget to follow up. And sometimes the money is in the follow-up. Part 2 is the CRM, the system, and part 3 will be acquisition and negotiation. There's going to be a script that we're going to provide to you, and then I'm also going to provide with you the recording of the live calls. And number 4 will be the disposition. How do we actually bring that over to another investors and actually make money out of it? So one of the things I really want to kind of talk about is regardless of what you do, your current business, I think the first 3 is going to be really, really important. It doesn't matter if you're a buy and hold investor, flippers, and all that stuff. If you can kind of figure out exactly how this model works, you can do it very slowly. Spend some money instead of looking for wholesale, pay for the wholesaler. You can spend some money, get those lead flow coming to you. And then once you have that nurture relationship, potentially there's going to be a really good deal for you to acquire. And once you get really good at this whole process, then you can potentially add this whole process afterwards. Okay, I've been facing some issue with the underwriting process when it comes to determining the ARV, and sometimes I'm not able to find any comps similar to the property I'm looking at. Okay, we're going to cover that as well. That's a good question because underwriting, really, there are 3 indicators that we're looking into. Okay, so let's dive right into it. I'm going to go over some of the things that's on high level. I want to do a couple of things. I want to show you the deal journey on how we actually lock the contract up, how we set up a system, so that I can show you the entire operation. And then in this call, again, we're going to fall back into marketing system, like how do we actually generate leads and what channels. So that's actually working out for us. Okay, so first thing first, let me just quickly go over that. There's a various different ways to do it. You want to kind of go within this whole sequence so that it doesn't cost you a lot of money. Initially, on market search is definitely something that you kind of want to try. Wholesaling or sourcing off market deal is all about marketing and sales. It's very interesting. It's not even about real estate. Real estate is just a product or vehicle that we're doing, but it's about marketing and sales. So when you want to kind of figure out your sales process, whether or not you're connecting people the right way, you probably want to start with the free way. Okay, because that will give you a lot of practice on talking to realtors, talking to sellers for sale by owners type of leads. And once you're having those conversations, then you can see, okay, what do I actually need to say in order for me to start increasing a bit of conversion? There's going to be MLS, Zillow, Redfin, foreclosure auctions, investor lift. Those are all free ways to do it. There's a lot of middlemen in there. So if you go with a Craigslist, sometimes you can do for sale by owner type of website, or even like Facebook Marketplace. All of these ones will allow you to talk to sellers directly. But initially, just kind of try it out. I'm going to provide you guys with a script in here, and you guys will know exactly how to actually get in touch with some of those leads. The goal here, by the way, isn't for you to overthink about this whole process. We recognize that there's a pattern for any successful investor, wholesalers / investor agents. The quicker they can actually get into calling people, they're going to actually get into the rhythm. It's not anything else. Because I noticed that people oftentimes fall into the trend of thoughts. Hey, listen, I need to get the CRM ready. I need to understand the script. I need to know exactly how to underwrite before they start calling people. And that's why I put a chart on the right-hand side. This is exactly why everybody, well, not everybody, but like most new investors will come in here, they will go on Zillow, okay, because a lot of free information is pointing people to Zillows. They will call the realtors, right? Which is why I call B2B2C model. You're talking to business owner, aka realtors, and tap into their investor or their contact list. Now you talk to realtors, and then you're trying to run the comparables, get into, okay, how do I actually run the numbers, this and that. Once you feel a little bit more comfortable, okay, maybe I can now call the realtors and see if I can negotiate a deal. Then you go into that, and then by the time you start reaching out to people, this is where property get taken, because a good deal honestly won't wait for you to be fully ready, right? People recognize that that's a deal, people put in the offer, and then try to get that on the contract so that there's no other competition. This is the pattern that we're seeing that create a lot of friction in this whole operation. And similarly, if you're an investor looking for a really good deal, we need to change that behavior a little bit. So part of the goal that I'm trying to do is change your current action, change your current behavior on sourcing the deal. And number 2, once I can change that, I can actually help you get that one property on the contract. Throughout these 4 weeks, I'm also going to show you the live deals that we get on the contract, and I can walk you through exactly how we do that too. In order for you to change this, we gotta do things slightly different. Now, some people will get through this part on the right-hand side, okay, from searching Zillow to call realtors to run numbers and then and realize that I'm a little bit too late. And then people started evolving their behavior, like changing the behavior. Now they go into browsing on Zillows, call realtors, run comparables, and try to now get it under contract. Started putting the offer. And then guess what? When you have the property under contract, you have like 5 to 10 days to go through due diligence. And then a lot of wholesalers right now will then start looking for buyers. But then they're facing the second issue, which is this whole process. When you're facing this issue, as in like not having enough buyers trusting your process or knowing what you're trying to do, then you end up having very limited amount of buyers that are willing to actually take over the project. Guess what happens? Most people at this point will say, hey, the deal's just not great enough, yada, yada, yada. Then you end up going back to the seller again, and then you try to negotiate, and then you end up running out of time. Okay, so typically, if you think about why like a deal will fall through the crack, it's a little bit because the number is not good enough. And number two is that there's just no buyer lined up. It's typically go into like one of these two issues. So in order for us to solve these two problems, we go into pulling the list. After we try multiple different things, I realized that as much as freeway is a good way to validate our sales process, like how we source and how we communicate with those sellers and realtors, it still doesn't change the fact that we're dealing with people who are already prepared to sell, and they might have a longer time frame to wait for the right offer. So then I started thinking, the best way to do it is to actually go off-market deal. And this off-market deal is going to be allowing us to do this. We now go into sort of a pay-per-lead type of a play. If you can allocate a bit of a marketing budget, put it into PPL, pay-per-lead, for delinquent sellers. Delinquent means they fall behind in some sort of payment. Okay, it could be mortgage, could be property tax, utility bills and all that stuff. So if we can really identify the right audience here, people who are facing with the financial situation, aka they're unable to actually get the property fully set up for the top dollar on MLS. A lot of realtors will even be reluctant to take on those properties, right? And the goal here is to target these people before they even go approach any realtors or any other investor, right? And the goal here is that if I can talk to these type of audience like all day, I already know that they have shorter time to sell, they have a higher pain point. So by the time they really need to make a move, it's so much easier for me to create a spread in that discussion. The only currency is no longer top dollar. They are looking for a shorter time frame, which means dollar amount can be flexible. I will do this, look for delinquent sellers. Once we reach out to them or they reach out to us, we run a quick comparables on the very first call, and then we try to get it under contract on the second or third call. Okay, and then once we do that, you can literally acquire this as one of your flips. Or you can also do is now lined up, this is a stuff, this disposition process that we're going to talk about, how to quickly get to 100 to 150 cash buyers to take over your projects. Okay, and then once you have that, then you move forward to closing. The biggest difference between these three processes, this one, when people are calling consistently every single day, it's pretty much a dead end in the very beginning, right? For this whole process. If someone is calling people, now you're going through this whole process, but the finding buyer can become a choke point, which means getting to the closing, there's still work to be done. So what we need to do right now is get into this part. Delinquent seller without any middleman, higher spread, get it under contract. Now you're no longer dealing with the agents who are trying to get the sellers with a shorter time frame for the contingency period. Now we can stretch it to 14 to 21 days for inspection periods and all that stuff. And we'll have more time to actually connect with the right buyers. We'll walk you through exactly how we establish this whole process so we can actually take this to the finishing line. Any questions about this whole process? Yeah, I'm about to dive into much more in depth for each process right now. So just want to give a bit of feedback. Everything's good. Like if it's good, just type 1 for me, like in the chat. If there's any questions, like quickly talk about that. Let's go into how do we actually find that delinquent sellers. Let's start with that. There's a few different ways to do it. Let me show you exactly how I would do it, because I've been in Austin market. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. It's totally worth to invest some money in there. Let me show you exactly how I would do it. And then I'll give you guys something very actionable. Like you guys don't need to pay extra or anything for this one. Okay. So there's many different ways you can do it. Also, there's so many different software that are pulling the right resource from various different websites, but you just need to pick one, the most proficient with PropStream. Okay. So we can just use that. Actually, let me use yours as an example, because a lot of people here are from Ohio. So give me a couple zip code.
I'm super open in terms of zip code, just anything in Austin. Just you can maybe circle the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, the biggest issue with Austin is that the price point has gone up so much higher. Do you know like roughly what you're hoping to flip? Like what's your buying price?
Between 200, 300.
2 to 300K.
Yeah.
Wow. You probably need to go a little bit farther out then. But okay, let's do this.
What do you think? What would be a appropriate goods, price range?
It depends on the finishing, how much rehab you want to put in, to be honest.
I mean, it's a stick with the two sides. One thing I want, and the other thing what market tells, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to be a truth somewhere in the middle. If you believe that the price range, a purchase initial should be different, I'll take it.
Yeah, so you want to work backwards. You want to actually look at the whole comparables first.
Yes.
The easiest way is to actually go into Zillow. I'll do Austin, Texas right here.
My idea is this: I don't want to go into like very risky deals, but then on the other side, if I could put less money, obviously I would go that way. But also, less money, I could limit myself, which I don't want to limit myself.
Got it. Okay. For simplicity, let me kind of just show you how I would do it, and then you can literally kind of plug in your numbers afterwards.
Right.
I will come in here, go to sold 6 months to 12 months. I will hit apply, and then I will look at obviously the maximum. Let's say if you have a price point that I definitely don't want to go over, let's say 500K. Minimum, you can go anything basically. I might need to go to Redfin actually.
Also, what I noticed a couple days ago, I was checking Zillow sold, and in Austin, they hide the sale
Yeah.
price. Like
Yeah,
in Florida, it's all over there in front of you, which is kind of handy. And in Austin, I was like, am I doing something wrong?
yeah, no. They Zillow. I noticed that Zillow doesn't actually show Austin's price for some reason.
How do I fix that? How do I deal with that? Because I still needed information.
Use Redfin. Redfin will get you the numbers here.
Redfin. Okay.
Yeah, use Redfin and then go to sold. Yeah, go to sold, see homes, right? And then you go into specific neighborhood. Yeah, I got a relative lives, I think around here.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Yeah,
South
and
side, beautiful. Yeah, let's do it.
You kind of go in here, you look at the comparables and you work backwards. So I'll give you a formula afterwards for your specific situation because a lot of people here, they're looking for different type of deals. But that's what I would do. I would use the ARV, look for sole comparables first,
Right.
and then kind of work backwards. So if I'm in here, if I do going for 78745, and
Yeah, beautiful house.
Yeah, I go into prop stream in here, I can literally go into filter, and then you want to go into pre-foreclosed. Because first of all, Austin is more advanced, more like a tier one city right now. So you're not going to find as many things. So you might want to kind of widen your search a little bit. But to show you how I would do it, usually is pre-foreclosure is number one. Number two, depending on how many search volume I have, I will go into the owner information. I don't want anybody less than 5 years because if you purchase something in 2021, 2022, you basically bought the property at the peak of the market, which also means that there's not enough room for me to kind of negotiate or play around with it. If you purchase the property before 2020, 2019 or longer, I know the spread has been created. So for a lot of them, they might just be, you know what, I'm not in the best financial situation. Let me take some profit and let me just be done with it. Okay, so year of ownership, I think is really important. Now, the next thing you do is you look for the mortgage. For mortgage, ideally, you want to find anything that's less than 50% of the mortgage amount for this property. So the way that I'm thinking about this is very simple. It's like less than 50% of mortgage means that there's a lot more spread I can figure out. Now, I kind of narrow it down into 3 properties only. What I then would do, this is the estimate value. I would do the skip trace. I will save it into the list. Try to do this. Create new, save. Okay, and then let me bring it over to my skip tracing part. I'll go select contacts. Let me do Austin. I come in here, select everything, done. And then you can literally, oh, did I select it? Why is it not coming through? That's the first time I see this. I might take it to Kind Trace. There's another software that we use that we can also trace this one. So without me doing this, basically you skip trace the information. So this is the stuff that I'm going to share with you guys, is this. There's a 20,000 delinquent sellers. Once you skip trace, what it will show is this. You're going to have the property, and then you're going to have like roughly like the property value, the equity percentage. And then you can literally go all the way to the right. There's going to be like phone numbers and email address that you can literally type into. Phone numbers, all these ones, okay, email address. Once you have that, now you know that these people, like everybody that on this list, I know that they're behind some sort of payment. So you can contact them, build a relationship, and see, hey, listen, like I'm looking around in the area. I'm just wondering like if you have any interest in selling the property in the near future, right? If the price is right. Okay, so that's typically what we do. Now, doing this will give you a way higher success than sourcing on Zillow because pain point is very clear, basically. Okay, and typically these people will have a shorter time to sell, or they don't have their stuff together. You know, they don't have their finance together, or they're facing some sort of a situation. That's why I like to be very intentional about the whole thing, because when we first started doing all of this, and like in a more like a business level, we're constantly thinking about what is the best way to not feel like we're shooting in the dark. Because where we are, there's no like skip tracing and all that stuff, right? In Toronto, there's nothing like this. So what we're trying to do here is very simple. It's just like I want to really understand how to reduce the cost of marketing, and the only way to do it is to get into the market where I can pull those data. And once I pull those data, instead of me spending the money on everyone, now I'm going strictly with a very clear target. If I can nurture the relationship long enough, do consistent follow-up, at some point they will say, let's make a deal happen. Okay, so to make this a little bit easier for all of you guys, I just want to show you how that's done. Obviously, you can filter based on your preference, your zip code, your property type. And then once you've done all of that, then you can run a marketing campaign afterwards. But to make this simpler, I'm going to give you guys this spreadsheet and you guys can literally just copy and download some of these. Like if you actually do 10 calls a day or have 10 conversations a day, every single day, 5 days a week, let's give ourselves a bit of a break. You can definitely make something happen here for the next 4 weeks. Okay. These tools are only available in the US where no, there's no Canadian tools for that. Because in Canada, the privacy rule is very strict. What does a prop stream cost? Good question. Say like 197 or maybe 99 bucks. I don't even know. I think I'm on this one, but you might be able to get away with 99 bucks. Yeah. Where do I sign up for prop stream?
Sorry, I was kind of just saying that like, hey, I want to get started.
Oh, I see. You'll have access to this as well, Brett. Any questions about this up until this point?
Sorry, you said I have access to it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the full access to all of this. Yeah,
Nice.
so that you don't need to spend the money on any of this. But Ivan, since you're in Austin market, that's gonna be a little bit tougher for us to do. Yeah, but we'll probably talk about that after and see if there's any other way that I can support you.
What's the difference between me and Brad? Like, is it not US? Is it not the same market?
No, they're targeting Ohio market. Yeah, and by the way, there's a
Well,
reason.
I tell you this, like Cincinnati was on my list as well.
Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are a small team, but we're quite ambitious. We got Florida, we got Texas. Cincinnati is already in process, and then I need property there, and then Alabama, I just don't have time for that, just physically, and then Atlanta, will be added in a month or so. Like I'm already like a intense schedule, but in a month or two it's going to be even worse.
Why would you want to flip in Austin?
I had a quick look on the Zillow, and it looks like there is a bit of a meat on the bone.
I gotta tell you though, Austin, the margin for Austin is very small.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what's your suggestion?
I made an assumption that you're local and then you could do a lot of things on your own.
I'm Canadian, but I travel. We started with Florida. Florida is running fairly fine, and so I'm exploring next stop.
Let me just give you my honest feedback. In Florida, the insurance cost is too high. Okay,
Yes.
You're not. It's not going to cash flow, right? In today's market, price point is way too high already, and then it's just not going to be enough of a. Unless you're local, you can really like keep down the cost using the.
We have a team on the ground. I was there for a month myself. We were sniffing around like dogs. It's, how do I put it? My opinion, the market is flooded in a good way. Right, it's very dynamic, very active, so it's fairly easy to get the property. Like I did shopping with Zillow. Like Zillow is flooded with property.
Yeah.
But then we are facing the reality to sell our first renovated property. It's not easy, right? So we'll have to drop the price. But hey, as long as we make money, we're fine. It's not like we plan to get 200 on the property. Right?
I understand what you mean, but process is all the same. The question here is like, what is strategy? What is the easier exit strategy? And a lot of times, if you're a flipper, you just look for the listings in your own market, and then you can source it the same way. Then your advantage, you don't have to outsource everything to contractor. You can be the contractor or be the GC and keep the cost low. Austin, my biggest issue is just like price point is too high. They're building so fast, so your biggest competitor is actually another rehab, like another flipper. Your biggest competitor is all the builders out there because they're building in volume. And the truth is, right now they've been consistently declining year after year for the past like 2-3 years, depending on the area that you're in.
Other than Florida, what would be your suggested next stop in US?
I like Ohio because Ohio, all the state investor will buy, local flipper will buy right at this moment. Institutional buyers are going in, right? There may not be a strong, like very strong appreciation. Like we don't know that yet until like we.
Columbus, Cincinnati, is there a difference or they're similar?
Cincinnati is okay too. Cincinnati is okay too. Yeah.
If you would help me with Cincinnati, I would much appreciate it.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So this method, I would definitely use the same.
Let's do Cincinnati. That's totally fine. And then I'll do copy paste for Texas myself
afterwards. Yeah. Perfect.
And if I can be favored by you the same way as Brad get access, I would appreciate it.
You can still have this one. I just don't know if we have enough Cincinnati properties.
But I'm still, we'll run Texas because I'm responsible. So I can't really walk away from that because
I love Texas, by the way. I love Texas. So okay, let's get into the PPL. This is really, really important because PPL is what helps us to automate the entire process. The moment that you have a list of this, the next question typically is, okay, I can call, I can do a lot of outreach, text messaging, all that stuff. And that's actually what we were doing initially. We actually have a VA team, like kind of a call center to do a consistent outreach. Every single day back then, last year, we were doing about like 150 dials every single day. And then once we have something that's promising, you just send it over to Andrew, and then Andrew will be having a conversation with the sellers. So that was the old approach that we were doing. Now, the newer approach is that since we already know who these people are, the best way is to bring over here, figure out the zip code, and then we just start using pay-per-click, pay-per-leads. And once you do that, then every day we're kind of just waiting for the leads to flow into us, right? When we started having these sellers who are from this type of list coming to us, and they actually let us know like roughly what their problem is: tire landlord, emergency reasons, tire landlord, sell without agents, emergency reasons, sell without agents, foreclosure. This is all this month only. And really, at that point, it's controlling your budgets only. You're pacing it based on how much budget you're able to actually spend on this specific machine. Once you have this coming in here, then we focus on, we bring everybody into part 2 of this, which is our CRM, and then we do follow-up processing. We try to get in touch with all of them. When I'm comparing how many contacts that we had to do versus what we're currently doing, back then we do 150 to 200 dials every single day. In reality, every roughly 100 calls that we call out to people, sometimes we get lucky, but sometimes you only get 1 to 2 productive conversation in those type of work, and it becomes really, really hard. And that's why a lot of wholesalers, a lot of people who are taking the off-market approach, they lose momentum right away because it's simply too much work in the very beginning. But also you can do a massive text message, and the success rate was pretty high for us. Okay, so there's a various different ways that we try to optimize, but the best way that we converted into PPL and started looking to pay marketing is because instead of us reaching out to them as a form of marketing, we pull the leads in, and once they come in here, all we have to do is to just reach out to them and have a conversation. Okay, so this really made the entire thing so much easier. One of the good way, I'll share this with you. There's a various different website that you can also do this. Speed to lead actually offer a really, really good deal. $29 per lead. This is a pretty good, I want to say pretty good starting point. Their lead quality may not be the best, by the way, and they share the same lead with multiple different other people who are also on a subscription. But it'll give you a really good taste of what that conversation feels like if you're willing to allocate, let's say $300 to start with, or 150. 150 is equivalent to 5 leads. You can skip a bunch of calling, and then you just pull the leads in. You have a conversation with them. Now competition is going to be high for the low cost lead, but at the same time you get a feel of it, and you can see if you can make something out of it. And the truth is, we have done some deals off the ISP to lead. It's just it's not our favorite. Our favorite is motivated leads. It's called motivated leads, which is this one. Okay, this one is a little bit more a higher quality, but definitely more expensive. Each lead that we're paying is roughly about $200 to $300. And then you ramp it up to, let's say, $3,000, $5,000. Basically, you're guaranteeing that you're going to get the property done and find something with a high spread. I highly recommend this if you have some budget, but I would start with ISP to lead if you want to kind of give a taste of this. Now, I want to walk you through a deal journey, and some of you guys already know this property, the Marion Road. If I show you exactly how it came in, this came in around, was it March? It's right here, 23181 Marion Road. This property specifically, 135K, and then the ARV was 244K. Just want to show you everything that we're talking about here, it follows through this whole process. Yeah, so it's PBL, came in here, and then we run the comparables. We're okay, good to go. We get it on the contract. This one is actually for a much longer time, not just 14 to 21 days. I think we did it for over a month, because Richard just really needed to sell, so he fully committed to us. And at that time, obviously we're shopping around and all that stuff, but where we found a cash buyer for this property was through Facebook group. Okay, so sometimes it's this whole process. I'll show you a really quick way to do it for this part, but this specific buyer was from Facebook group, and then we initially got it down for 25K assignment fee, ended up closing on for 18,000. Okay, just this one deal. Now, if you're a flipper and you're local and you can totally bring the cost down by doing a bit of work yourself or do a GC yourself, then the spray is also pretty large. Yeah, the spray is also pretty large. Left from here. Kind of just want to let you guys know about this. Any questions about the PPL?
I got a question. So in effect, you're paying for each lead, price per lead or pay per lead. From what I can tell, depending on the provider, well, I guess you're using iSpeed lead, but I think there are other providers, and the more you pay, the better the lead, hopefully.
Yeah, just when I'm talking about the PPL, there's probably 50 plus agency out there doing the exact same thing. I broke down their business model quite a bit, so I'll also show you exactly how they do that a little bit in the next 5 minutes. Typically, their business model is very simple. They go into the marketing side of things, because at the end of the day, finding the motivated sellers is the marketing side, and you just need to find ways to close it. So they take care of that part. But iSpeed to lead will generate the lead for you, and maybe for other 10, 15, 20 people who are doing the exact same thing as you, right? But a lot of these people, when they go into more a volume play, I also find that the competition is lower. So if your speed to lead is fast, as in you pay for it, the lead comes in here, and then you talk to them right away. Typically, your conversion will be much, much higher. But I also find that I just don't like the competition type of thing. Like when I'm talking to someone, I want that full attention. I'm okay with increasing a bit of budgets to eliminate those competitors. And once I do that, I just get that locked up with a higher margin for when I need to make an offer.
I asked Erwin in the Telegram group what the optimum time was to call. He said 11 to 6. Are there differing views on that? I think under the American do not call list, it's 9 to 8. You can legally call.
Yeah.
That the sweet spot is 11 to 6 or so.
Yeah, the reason why it's hard to answer that question is because the KPI, the metrics that I've always been tracking for all the business marketing is the speed to lead. 6:43 p.m. when they come in here, I don't want to wait for next day. I'm gonna call them right away. I'm gonna call Toby right away. 11:27, I'm calling him at noon, or like as soon as I see it. Yeah, so sometimes I look at this, in the ideal world, I want that to be 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, when their attention is still in this. I really can't give you an answer on that because I'm tracking different things rather than the...
Sorry, maybe I missed something here. Sorry. When they come in, so the reach out was through a text initially or email?
They fill out a form for these marketing agency, and these marketing agencies distribute the leads to us.
Oh, I see. So there,
Yeah.
it's inbound then. Okay.
Yeah, this is the inbound. I think what you're referring to was the outbound, which is more like, how do I contact these people? When is the best time to contact these people?
I like the idea of responding as quickly as possible, but you could also make an argument that maybe you want to say, can we schedule a time to speak? Because you're kind of showing that you're in control.
Yes, except I think my argument to that would be right now our attention span is really, really short. By the time you wait to find the right time for you to control that schedule, they probably forget about like who you are already. Yeah. So those are the stuff that I like to keep things a little bit quicker because this typically will yield a result. And even the pickup rate is higher. I don't have to go do the phone tag with anybody. Okay. And by the way, give me a bit of feedback. Like, is this helpful or how do you guys feel so far?
Yeah, no, it's definitely helpful just to kind of see the source of the leads. Question. So when you say higher quality lead, right? Obviously the CPL is higher, you're paying much more for that lead, but are you saying then that it's only going to be distributed to you as opposed to, all of the other people who are looking for the same type of leads?
Great question. Definitely the competition is way lower. I think if you pay premium for any sort of marketing agency, they will also give you the priority to it. I can see that they have $300 lead, for example, 342. And I'm pretty sure those one would literally just be, those one would not have any competition at the current moment for this one.
Oh, I see. So these leads are actually already generated and you get to choose if you want to buy them.
Yeah.
The ones
I've never done anything like this before because this is more like exclusive lead. Biggest issue is that they're all over the place. So I also wouldn't be monitoring this too much. I like to just pay, get everything automated. So by the time that I get prompt, that's when I know I need to address it immediately. Yeah, like these ones, my biggest worry is that I don't know, like if you have a specific zip code, like it's really, really hard for you to wait for the right deal for you to pick from here. Yeah, but to answer your question, if you pay more, you can always ask to be the priority.
Quick question. So you've got two different methods to get your leads, right? So you got the outbound and then you have your inbound. So right now we're talking about, inbound. Okay, so the one that you had showed that you had someone fill out a form on the the marketing agency provides a form for buyers, active buyers or sellers that are interested, and then that comes in as a lead to yourself and you had all those leads there. That's inbound, right?
That's inbound. Yep.
How do I get access to that?
I'll help you set up everything. Barry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't worry. I got you on this one.
Okay. As far as pay per lead, like the other way where you go to the site and you grab leads, the one that we went to a website, you could pull a list of potential people. Yeah.
These ones.
Yeah,
these ones. So that's why I was explaining, like what we're building right here is that now this is a higher intent leads, but not all of them are going to say, hey, I'm willing to sell, even though we know that they're facing with financial trouble.
Okay.
But these people, there's two ways to do it. Now we put a list of leads. We can do outbound or we can do inbound. When you do outbound, you're testing out your script. You're testing out your comfort level with how you're speaking to these type of audience. Because the truth is, sometimes when we're talking to these people do cry over the call, right? So you kind of want to show a bit of empathy, understand the language that they're using, making sure that we're not rushing to try to find out the deal, their property details and all that stuff. You're kind of being a therapist here, right? So once you know how to connect with people, and you're feeling like, okay, every single conversation that you're doing, you can navigate a conversation pretty well. Then you try to automate this whole process and then create that PPL to pull the inbound leads for you.
Okay,
so that's our sequence. Yeah.
Okay, so this way you understand the characteristics of your typical buyer or the person, your target market, and then you use those characteristics to build your later on your pay per lead because you know their behavior patterns and all that kind of stuff, the things that they're okay,
Exactly.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Just to supplement what you were saying about empathy, I was actually driving today and I was listening to some of the calls provided in the Telegram group. And I think it was Irwin who was talking about, he was talking to a woman who had cancer. And she told him that in the call. And I think he handled it spectacularly. But I think you got to think about how you'd handle that if somebody says, I got cancer, or heaven forbid, I'm dying. I hate to say that, but it's true. And people need to sell their property.
Yeah.
We've got to think in advance how you would answer that. Like
the goal here, by the way, that when people talk about that, try to understand their story a little bit. Typically, just show interest. And sometimes, if you're genuine caring for other people, the conversation will flow really nicely. My wife, Joy, used to be an ICU nurse, so sometimes she brought home with some stories. And I don't deal with that too well. Like I get emotional too. And then somehow that also helps me with the conversation. Because sometimes when I'm listening to that, I'm just like, hey, how do you feel? Like, how are you doing? Right? How are you navigating this whole process? Right? Okay, what can I do for you? Right? Like I get that you're in that situation. And how about like financially? You kind of go into more, and this is not really a sales tactic or anything. It's just human connection, in my opinion. So think of it as that way. You connect with people at some point. If they feel like, man, like I really enjoy that conversation, I feel like I have a listener, then the nurturing process becomes a lot more solid. Sometimes I find that sales process is not to remember what you need to say. It's just make that connection first before we talk about anything else.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Just a question to backtrack here. So going back to the outbound side, right? So, you scrape this list of delinquent sellers, right? Hypothetically, you could also upload that list into your CRM or marketing automation platform and start, running drip campaigns after them as well, right? To text and email and call, etc. Like that is what you would do?
Yeah, the first 7 to 8 days are the most important because they just opt in. Their attention's still there. You kind of want to keep reminding them. After that is once a week, and then after that is once a month. That's the stuff we'll talk about, in part 2 right here.
But have they opted in any way?
Oh, if you're doing outbound, they haven't. They're doing inbound, then yes. Outbound, typically, by the way, what we do is that we create touch points in our CRM, but we don't really get them into drip campaign because we don't have their permission yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in terms of the pay-per-lead, you talked about 2 different websites, and then you did mention Facebook. Can you explain further on the Facebook part, how that works?
Facebook, that's right here. That's this position site. There's a quicker way to do it, which also requires a bit of an investment, small investment for the software and all that stuff, but it made this whole process a lot easier. Okay, before I end this group call, I'll also show you exactly how we do it, like very quickly. And then you're going to know that how we do this. But there's a cheaper way or free way to find a cash buyer is also through like Craigslist or Facebook.
So then are we getting these notes for what we were discussing today, including those websites for the pay-per-leads, the tool?
Yeah, right after, before we wrap up, I'm going to send you guys this link. So you guys have everything here. How was your trip, by the way, Barbara? You just came back, right?
Yes, it was okay. I am still resting, but
I see. Okay, next one. I want to kind of let you guys know about direct mail because we're getting like one of our bigger ones, all direct mail. And direct mail typically is the reason why we're using direct mail is because we've been advised that this will give us a higher spread, but it's also more expensive. So I know most of us probably won't even touch this. So I'm just going to talk about this very quickly. Direct mail usually means there's no competition at all because with PPL, when people are pulling the list and they're being contacted or they opt into something, Facebook, Instagram, or any other platform, Google's now will really target them through various different ads from different company, right? So PPL, the biggest issue is that sometimes you do run into the risk of if you're not increasing or if you're not getting that speed to lead up there, the biggest issue is you end up having multiple people like talking to the same lead. And it's annoying, okay? Because sometimes when they're just like, let me think about it, or something that you say raise a bit of questions, they end up talking to other people. Now you have 2 people competing for the same lead. With direct mail, it's like, that's paper. They didn't opt into anything. Their sole focus or attention is on you. And here's what we did. We tried so many different things. We use a local buyer, we buy things fast and all that stuff, but nothing beats these 2 things. One is we have this type of a design set up. So sorry we miss you, and we put it this way. Part of the reason why we use this template is because it looks like utility notice. It looks like your utility is about to get affected. So people see that, they definitely grab it. They were like, what's this about? And then I've been trying to reach you this, but then this shows that about buying the property. Okay, so that's number 1. We send them, I think, two, 3 times. And then if they still don't get back to us, the next thing we do is we send them a check. And a check will be very different because these people, biggest issue is that they're falling behind in some sort of payment. They're being chased by the outstanding bills. And all of a sudden they receive a mail with a check in there. I'm pretty sure open rate is 100%, even though we don't always get the call back. But this is really effective. And typically, like even when we're networking with other local, more advanced investors, that's how they do it. Some developers, that's how they do it, right? Send a check over to other people that just, what's this about? It's like, hey, I just passed by, I see this, I've been searching for the deals. You know, what's your plan for the lane? What's the plan for this property? This is all based on, you know, targeting to the right people. And by the way, just want to kind of let you guys know about the cost to do this. I ran a 2-month campaign for 7,500 homes. Our cost is $12K for this one.
How many deals did you get out of that though?
I think we got 4 deals done.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. But the biggest issue is that it's pretty scary initially, because first month you're pouring a lot of capital in there and then you're not 100% sure how it's going to play out, right? And then you're testing out, and then and by the way, when people call back, it doesn't mean they're ready to make a decision.
So it's scary for you as the person sending the info out. Is it scary for you getting the calls too?
We want to get the calls, but we're
People are
scared to
saying-
spend the money, and yeah, because it's like there's uncertainty to everything, right?
But people are saying, what the F is this?
Yeah, we actually spend way more on direct mail because we didn't really know which one gives us the highest response rate. So we had the flyers out there, we had the door hangers out there, multiple different things, but these two gives us the best response rate for now. But again, just want to throw in here, but I don't think it's something that any one of you guys will be doing until we get very comfortable with the PPL.
Sorry, I have another question. The LLC, are you able to give us some info on how we can start doing the LLC for these operations in the States?
Then
The
it's
one that we-
LLC? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can share that information with you. Cool.
To get LLC, it's very easy.
Yeah, my understanding is I just need to do it right to avoid double taxation. So that's kind of the piece I am needing to have an understanding, right? That the people who know how to set them well so that you don't get double taxation. That's the main thing for me.
So even if you just set up the LLC, you're still going to be facing a bit of a double taxation issue. The things that you want to use is the LP. But I'll give you some information. The truth is, I think you're worrying too much about that type of setup. Initially, even just LLC, EIN number, that's good. Even if you do it under your personal name, I think that's okay. My whole belief about running any sort of business is make money first before we spend. If you want to avoid double taxation, the setup is way too high, in my opinion. After this one, I'll skip this one, the PPC and SEO. This is the stuff that we're testing out, but we're also not trying too hard on that. This is the breakdown of what they're doing here. PPC, SEO, and all that stuff. So we will only do that in a scaling phase. I want to give you guys a bit of homework here. Like I mentioned, everything that we're doing is about changing the behavior, changing the current action in order for us to achieve a different outcome. There's a script right here, acquisition script. There's an offer script that we use. There's also a PPL script. There's also a realtor script. If you're talking to realtors, use this script, okay? And it's not a long script, but it's just so that we're not shooting in the dark, that we follow this framework information. What has your clients thinking about selling right now? And then try to gather a little bit more information. Once your initial conversation was good, gathering information will be a little bit easier afterwards, okay? Now, PPL is right here. You can literally follow this. Like, my name is Ping. How are you doing today? Calling because you can literally just follow it. Typically, when you're getting really familiar, when you're talking to like so many different people using the same script, you're going to start spinning off a bit of your own style into those type of calls. Don't overthink about this is really my suggestion. Like kind of look at it, know like why we cover a few different things, understand the reason behind it. But the goal here is to get into the coding ASAP, keep talking to people, and then eventually this will work out itself. So I'll share this with you guys and also do this. I'll also share this with you guys. Feel free to go in here, listen to each call. There's a process call, which is when they opt in. Okay, you guys can listen to how the conversation is being handled. Okay, both Erwin and Caleb's call are in here, so there's gonna be 2 different styles, but very similar script. Process call is the first one, and then once they get on a second call to make them an offer, the offer call is the second call to listen to. It's good for some of you guys to listen to all of that. And then we have deals like locked up like from these calls. So it's high quality recordings. And once you're familiar with it, I really hope that you guys can do this. Identify your market and your zip code, or just pick anything from here, but don't do it from the top of the list, please. When everybody's doing it, you have a high competition with these people, with the people that's sitting here. And number 2 is I try to call 10 agents a day. Just get comfortable with 10 agents a day. Really won't take you that long. 10 leads from here every single day. Get into the rhythm. That's all. That's all I'm asking for anybody who's attending. There's going to be other things you need to worry about. Obviously, CRM. What do we say? How do we underwrite the deals and all that stuff? Don't even worry about that. Just trust the process. as we're going through all of that, we're going to cover all the angles. Most people try to understand everything before they start calling, and that's just the wrong pattern and habit that we're seeing. Okay.
Quick question on that. When you start doing the calling without the CRM to record, let's say someone's mildly interested, and you did mention something about there's a frequency of touch points, like, you know, first week and then the next week. And then I guess most people create a spreadsheet or something and you just make notes in there for now type of thing.
Yeah, start with a spreadsheet for now, because the truth is most of us in this call, I can guarantee you that next week when we meet, this is not going to be done. I start with something really simple, even a piece of paper, write down the name, and whenever you have someone that actually pick up the call, write down the name, and that's your CRM for now. But next week, I'll talk about the systematic way to do all of this, and I'll give you guys a template as well.
Does this spreadsheet have our email addresses or no?
Yep, it's right here.
What's your thoughts on that contact method, like an email and a phone call?
Great idea. Yeah, you can also reach out to them. If you want to do email, I would challenge you to do more than 10 a day. The biggest issue with email is that sometimes it can come up as spam. Sometimes the people are not like really opening up that email. So the title is really important. I know there's one title that actually works really well, because of this title got me click into the cold email. The title says your application just got declined, right? And then, or you missed this payment. And I click in here, it's just like, this is how frustrating real estate is, because your application got declined by multiple different lenders and you're falling behind in the payment. And I looked at that and was like, okay, that was pretty smart. So the whole thing about real estate is that people actually misunderstood, like at least from my understanding at the current portfolio and size of portfolio, I realized that it's about people, it's about marketing and sales, to get in touch with these people. And the more touch point that we can create, the better product. Okay, so real estate is almost kind of like, for this operation, we're not really in real estate, we're in marketing and sales business type of thing. And that's why I started developing a lot of these ideas, and I started paying attention to what other people are doing that actually get the right result. Yeah.
Hey, Ping.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question. I put in the chat as well. So I started calls this week, and I noticed that sometimes, whether if it's before the offer or after I sent the offer, the realtor would try to find out if I'm a wholesaler. And I mentioned that we do fix the properties ourselves, we do buy them as rentals, and we do wholesale them from time to time. But as soon as they find out that we're essentially a wholesaler, they kind of back out and they kind of don't want to speak anymore. And like, I know it's best practice to be as honest as possible. So like, is there any ways to combat this, or?
No, if you follow Owen's script, I think it's okay already, because there's always going to be realtors who just don't want to be going through that whole process. Number one, they don't really understand it. Number two is just like maybe they have really poor experience with other wholesaler, and you don't want to keep pushing on that, because you know, like, they're going to prioritize other offering. And the truth is, if they don't price it right and if they don't have any result, at some point realtor will also come back to you.
I see. Okay.
Because they need to find ways to get compensated for all of their work.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. I understand why some wholesalers will have bad rep, by the way, because there's a lot of younger people coming here calling without knowing how to speak to the professionals.
Right.
Okay? And sometimes the comparables, that's just a number is very inflated. So there's a bad rep to these type of activities, but it's not a new idea, just so you know. Like the developer source deals off market, they find ways to do it. And if you think about the assignment sales is another way of wholesaling, format of wholesaling, because you're not closing on the property, you're selling the right to close on the property for another end users. I don't understand why people will avoid that completely, but yeah, I think if you stick to the script, it's okay already.
And then also ask the other question about the ARV. I do see that we're running a bit out of time. So do you think I should just speak with Aaron and Caleb tomorrow about that, or?
No, like I can literally answer that quickly for you. Yeah. But before I dive into that, because that probably will take a couple minutes. Brett.
I was just going to say that, I mean, ultimately the realtor wants to move the property. If they don't want to deal with a wholesaler, then they could be losing out on an opportunity. I'm not really sure what the big deal is. I mean, yes, I've encountered a few realtors like that, but I don't think it's a big deal. You just move on.
You just move on. That is the right mentality, because the truth is the market is so big. There's going to be realtors who say, hey, listen, I'm having trouble like moving this listing, right? It's been like 60 days, 90 days, right? And then I'm looking to find a creative way. If you have buyers, you should like bring over it and figure this out. Okay, now quickly for comparables, just so we can answer all the questions. How are you currently running your comparables? Just so I can kind of understand where you're at with this whole process.
I've just been following the deal check analysis, or just plugging in all the numbers. And then from there, I'm just going into Redfin or Zillow, inputting the same type of home, like in terms of the bed and bath, and then just looking for similar houses that sold within the area code in the past 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Yeah, so like today, for example, as I was underwriting, I noticed that for 2 of the properties, there was like barely any houses within the area that has been sold in the past 6 months. And the houses that have been sold, the prices are differentiating from a big amount compared to what it's listed at.
Okay, so not enough data for you to see how you should be pricing this property, right?
Exactly. Like I spoke with Irvin, and he was able to tell me like what a buyer buyer for. Just I'm assuming that's just based on his experience. So I'm just trying to like figure out how I could come to that on my own instead of going to him every time I'm underwriting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, first of all, it does require a bit of practice, but there's a couple ways that you can look at. Number one is you already set out the comparables and you say the search term or search volume is too low. Not a problem at all. Typically I would do one of the two things, just from that step is I will expand your location from that specific area. You might go to now 10-mile radius and see, like, I know now you're kind of entering into different neighborhood, but this will kind of roughly give you a bit of idea on what the comparable is looking for. The comparables, by the way, at the end of the day, is all about how other realtors will kind of, based on the listing. So if they only pull 2, they will try to pull 4 or 5 or 6, so you expand that radius, that's number one, and you see if there's any other comparables that you can compare. That's one. Another thing that I would do is to, instead of doing 6 months, then I push it to 12 months. I sometimes even push to 18 or 24 months. It's not as relevant, but at least you can see roughly what these properties are being sold for.
I see.
Okay. So that's number one. Do these 2 on Zillow. Now, number 2 that you want to do is, if this still doesn't give you a strong comparables, the next thing I would do is kind of look for the buyer's activities.
Okay.
Just keep practicing it. If you do like 10, 15, 20 like underwriting deals, and at some point you're going to be like, okay, there's a certain pattern that will always get you the right result. That's the method or formula that you stick to.